Hey everybody, welcome to RiverCity-Media Beyond the Booth. I'm your host today, the Howard Chaney, sitting in for Randy Cunningham that's on special assignment, which usually means he's at a buffet somewhere eating. The co-host over there is Mr. Phil Harris, the 84 state champion Valley Head Tiger, plus the voice you hear on Friday night's WQSB scoreboard. Phil, how's everything going?
Doing well, doing well. Got my dog put up. Maybe she won't bark and we'll be fine. Been a long day, but glad to have Coach Doug Haynes on.
Yes, sir. And so let's get to our guest, the Northeast Community College golf coach, Coach Doug Haynes. Coach, thanks for joining us and welcome to the show.
Appreciate it, guys.
Hey, we was talking before we went live, and you had spent off a lot of great stuff that I'm like, hold on, guys, let's hold up. Let's go ahead and go live and get some of this stuff going. But before we get to that, you mentioned something that you've been around the sports world for quite a while. I knew you being a basketball coach, a football coach. I think maybe at one time you was a baseball coach. Is that right?
Barely. Assistant baseball, helping a buddy out. That was what that was about.
Okay. You've been at North Jackson. You've been at Pisgah. You've been at a lot of Jackson County schools. So for you to take over golf, you got to love sports.
I do. And I was a high school golf coach when I first went to North Jackson. I coached high school golf for 6 or 7 years. And so I knew a little bit about how golfing works and tournament play and those type of things. And the way I came about this, it's kind of a sad story, and it's just one of the ways life works. I retired as an administrator 2.5 years ago, and Northeast coach, he'd gotten sick and then eventually passed away. So they were halfway through the season, and knew I had retired and knew I had coached high school golf. And they called me and just asked me, could I get them through the season? Because there's a lot of travel involved, and they wanted somebody that they knew. And of course, I know a lot of people here, both from being a coach and being an administrator. And so I started doing it. And after about 3 or 4 months, first couple of months, I was like, hey, this is a pretty good gig. Getting to play golf every day and traveling like I did. You kind of see on the wall behind me, there's 25 golf balls. I buy a golf ball every time I go to a new course. So I've been to 25 different golf courses over the last couple of years. And so that's kind of how I tell people I just kind of fell into it. And so it's worked out real well for me.
That's a great gig. You got both the boys or men, I shouldn't call them boys, men's and women's or ladies.
Yes.
Golf. I'll get my terminology straight here.
I've had to change mine too, because I was boys and girls. You spend 25 years in public education, it's hard to change. But we have to go men and women now.
Man, you got the men and the ladies, and man, Phil was talking about that before you joined us. How many players do you have on your team?
I started out the season with 8 boys. We're down to 6 now, and I had 5 girls to start with, and we're down to 4. With our incoming recruiting class next year, I should be around 7 girls. I've got 5 signed, and so I'm hoping to sign a couple more before the year's over. And I've got 8 boys. It's the first time we've had full scholarships since I've been here. And so we've got 8 boys. We'll probably have a few walk-ons. So we're looking at probably 11 or 12 boys team, which will be a full boys team. When I took over the job, like I said, I came in halfway through the year. We got way behind in recruiting, so I kind of lost a year. And so it took me last year to kind of start building that back up. And so kind of as a goal-oriented person, my first year I wanted to improve the boys and field a girls team, and we've done that. And now we're trying to improve both teams, and I'm thinking we're heading in the right direction.
So I was at work today, and I knew the main question I wanted to ask was, and it's a legit question. It's nothing off the wall for me. You see these coaches, we've had several other college coaches on for baseball, softball, basketball, and all this, and they can go out and watch the people they want to recruit play. How do you know you want a player to come and play at Northeast?
Obviously, we're looking for character guys, and we want to stay local as much as we can. We signed a North Sand Mountain kid last year, signed another one this year, signed a Fort Payne guy. I signed 4 kids from Scottsboro last year. and a girl from Scottsboro. So we want to, if there's a kid good enough to play college athletics locally, we want to do that. But we also, in order to compete, we have to branch out. And so this year we've got a boy coming from Kansas, and a girl from in the Houston, Texas area, and then a girl from the Tampa, Florida area coming in. So we're kind of trying to expand our footprint. But if you see, and I'm not, I need to preface everything by saying that I am not a great golfer. I'm your average kind of guy that has a good time with it. But once you see a million golf swings, you kind of know what you're looking for. And there's certain on the boys' side, especially, there's scores that we look for. A boy needs to be a mid 70s golfer. That's really what we're looking for. And we're looking for mid 70s in major tournaments. There's a thing called the Alabama Junior Golf Association. They host a lot of tournaments, and the kids that we recruit a lot of times come from there. I'm lucky in junior college, the conference I'm in and the district I'm in, the other coaches, we're really good friends and we help each other out. So I've had other coaches call me and say, hey, this kid, I don't have a spot for him, but you want to take a look at him. And so we look for things like that. But a lot of it, you can kind of go off scores. And the major schools do that with junior colleges. They're going to look at our district tournaments and our conference tournaments and things like that. And if I have a kid, last year we graduated Lane Ingram, and he qualified for the national tournament and placed in several tournaments. And so he got a lot of offers because those coaches just looked on our scoreboard app and saw what his scores were, and they would call me and inquire about him.
So basically, you're saying that most of these kids or coaches may never actually see the kid play golf. They just go off of the score.
They'll come in. Most everybody has a recruiting profile now, and they have videos of themselves swinging.
Okay.
And the kid from Kansas is a good example. I'd seen his swing videos, and the two girls, the girl from Texas and so on. The local kids, I see them play, and I invite them. They come to Goose Pond. I can do that. They come in and try out, and so I watch them play there. But the boy from Kansas, he drove down from Kansas and played with us one day, so we got to see him play. And it doesn't take very long to see somebody can hit it straight and be consistent. And chip and putt and do those type of things. So, like I said, once you've kind of seen it, watch it a million times, you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I was trying to look. I think it's April the 24th. I think is the DeKalb County Golf Tournament out at Little Mo. So would you go out there and maybe kind of ride around and watch?
Yeah, if I'm not on the road, I watch Jackson County Tournament. I watch the DeKalb County Tournament. Scottsboro hosts a large tournament with a lot of like Arab and Albertville and people like that. So I get to see those. Like I said, the AG, I always get them mixed up. The Junior Golf Association, Goose Pond hosts several of their tournament there, and so. Like I said, yeah, we'll go watch. But like I said, I've sent kids to other colleges. They send them to me. So like a kid may go try out at Southern Union, and coach call and say, hey, I don't have a spot for him, but he's a good player. And if those guys tell me that he's a good player, then I can take that at face value. But 99% of the time, we do bring them to Goose Pond, and they play around. Either with my kids, or I'll play with them, or I'll watch them.
You've mentioned Goose Pond a couple of times. Is that like your home course, or would that be Dogwood?
It is. Goose Pond is our home course, and Ashley down there does a fantastic job helping us out. She gives us whatever we need. It helps. I work there part time, so I do that on the side, and so. We've got to be a really great working relationship. It kind of helps being close to the college. It's only 20 minutes to get there from Sand Mountain. And most of my kids that are from out of town, I have two boys that are from Clay County this year. They live in Scottsboro. So it helps being at Goose Pond. And you get two courses, which helps a lot. We're trying to, work out something with Terrapin in Fort Payne, so we can go to Terrapin and play some, just to kind of change it up a little bit.
Right. Okay. I've got to quit asking these serious questions. I'm starting to break out in hives. I'm not used to this. So I'm going to turn it over to Phil, and I'm going to sit back and watch and listen.
Okay, well, Coach, welcome once again. I want to back up just a little bit, talk a little bit about you. I know you were from Susan Moore. How did you end up here?
Yeah. Well, that's a great story. I went to college, graduated college at Auburn, and taught 2 years at Tallahassee, which is about 20 miles outside of Montgomery, and really wanted to get back in the northern part of the state. And Mark Rose took the job at North Jackson, and I had coached football for him at Tallahassee. And so he invited me to come to North Jackson. Now, the original plan was, because I'm from Susan Moore and it's close to Birmingham, the original plan was to come to North Jackson, a year or two at North Jackson, obviously a great football program, powerhouse back then. And then I was going to bounce to Birmingham and live in Birmingham. I went to junior college at Just 8. So, I knew the area well. Birmingham had football, obviously big time. And that was the plan. And I met a little blonde-headed girl at North Jackson, and I was married within a year, and I've lived in Pisgah for 24 years since then. So, as usual, a woman stepped in the picture, and plans changed. So I wouldn't trade it for the world. But yeah, that's how I ended up in the Jackson County area.
Of course, I mean, her name's Beth, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Now I've heard this story before. Tell us about your first date with her.
So she we had agreed to go out, and her brother Chad was having a baby, and so she said, well, we'll go out, but we have to go see the baby, which they were in Fort Payne. And so we went to the hospital. I met her parents, first date, met her parents, the whole 9 yards, had the baby, Beth got to see it. And then we went to, back then it was the buffet. Ryan's. There was a Ryan's in Fort Payne. And so we went to the buffet. So I tell her all the time, do not tell people that your husband took your first date to Ryan's buffet in Fort Payne, because I don't want people to think I'm a cheapskate. But that's how that worked. And we met in August, and were engaged in December and married in July. July. So it was pretty quick. So yeah. I used to tell kids all the time, don't get married until you're ready, and I was ready. So
no, that reaction I gave you was like, you better get that month right, or you're gonna be in the doghouse.
No. Well, my birthday's in June, so yeah, no, I've got it. I've got it. Don't worry. And it used to fall during All-Star Week, which obviously I had to go to. So now there were several times that it was my wife's anniversary date got to be at a conference in Montgomery. So,
well, and to go just a little bit further, tell us a little bit about Beth. I mean, naturally, most coaches have a good person behind the scenes that makes things happen, that takes care of things, because being as long as you've been a coach, administrator, as being the principal at section, you're on the road a lot, you're away from home a lot. So she kind of has to hold things together. And it's a tough job.
She is. She's I think this is her 31st year. She was a home ec teacher for years. And she's moved into, she does work-based learning coordination now. So she's got a really good job. But she taught home ec at Scottsboro for a few years, and then North Jackson for 18 before she went to the tech school. And she has, I got lucky with my boy Slade. He played for me at North Jackson, played for me at Pisgah. So we were kind of in that together. And then when my daughter got old enough to be cheerleading, things like that, I was the principal at Rosalie. And so I was able to go to a lot of, I didn't miss a whole lot of that. Obviously my kids are, I've got a grandson now, so my kids are older. And so when I started traveling for this golf thing, it's, I'm not missing my kids' stuff. So, it was a little bit of an adjustment for us, me being gone. I leave on Sunday and come back on Tuesday. And I think it's about 20 weeks out of the year. So that's been a little bit of an adjustment. She's went with me a couple of times, to different tournaments. But she does. She's been fantastic. I tell people, and I'm a little bit bigger than I used to be, but it's amazing I'm not as big as a house, because you marry a home ec teacher, that means she can absolutely cook. So I think I've done pretty well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, maybe she cooks a little healthier than most people.
Oh no, she's a Southern mama. It's going to be fried. Okay. Oh yeah, it's butter and fried, and oh my God, it's just, she's amazing.
Yeah, you have to have. Well, of course, Slade, you was talking about your son, that he's the one that had the son, Knox, isn't it?
Yes.
Was born last year. Yep. What has it been like being a grandpa or granddad or whatever it is they call you? I guess that's something special.
Yeah. I'm G-Dad, so it's been great. He's I babysat him by myself for the first time a few weeks ago, so I was nervous, but he's big enough now where he's not really that breakable. So we got along good. But the other day they sent us a video and he's throwing a ball and to his dad and playing peekaboo and stuff like that. So he's 9 months old, and he's a big old kid. So we got our fingers crossed. Whatever he wants to do is fine with G-Dad, but G-Dad would really like seeing him playing football one day and basketball. And I told Slade, none of my family play golf. So I told Slade, I said, he's not going to have a choice. I'm going to put a club in his hand when he's about 3 years old, and I'm not going to give him a choice. Y'all didn't want to play with me, but I'm going to make that boy play with me.
Yeah, well, that's one good thing too. It's a great way to get through school. Golf is a great way to get into college.
Yes. And women, men's golf is you don't have trouble finding players. I guess the best way to put it. I get emails, 3 or 4 emails a day from kids wanting to come in and play. Women's golf is it's getting better, and there's getting to be more participation, but there's still not a lot of women golfers. And so I tell everybody I meet, hey, if they're halfway interested and you like it, put a club in their hand. It's a really easy way to get a scholarship.
Well, yeah, and one of your local high school teams, of course, I know there's a couple of players you're interested in there. You said being Coach Hannah at Ider, they have really invested a lot in golf. They've got an outside hitting. Yeah. So they've put a lot into it, and their girls have really gotten better.
Mm-hmm. They've got a couple that are really good. And sometimes you run into girls golf. If they're a really good golfer, a lot of them will go straight to a 4-year university, not even to play golf. They just want to go to school. And one thing that it works against us a little bit in this area, and I'll never be against it, because the dual enrollment program in Jackson County's they do such a great job, and it is a fantastic way for kids to earn credit in high school. But if you've done 2 years of dual enrollment in high school, you don't have classes to take at Northeast. And so they're able to get academic scholarships and other things to go straight to the 4-year university and not have to play golf. So we run into that a little bit. But like I said, it's getting better, and it's getting more and more. I'm getting more and more girls. Like I said, I'm going to have hopefully 7 or 8 girls this year, where we had 5, and last year I had 3. And so we had 5 this year, and hopefully I have 7 or 8 next year. And one thing that's helped is we've been a little bit more successful, and so people have heard about us, and so that's helped on the recruiting front too, because college is a lot different than high school. As far as in high school, you got who you got in those halls, and that's who you go play with. And in college, and especially in junior college, because your roster turns over every 2 years, you got to be able to recruit. You got to get players. I mean, that's just Nick Saban was famous for telling Coach Moore on the plane ride that I'm the very average coach, but I'm a really great recruiter. So, it's all about getting those bodies, man. And the better players you got, the more successful you're going to be.
Of course, I talk kind of like when we had Coach Guthrie on, we kind of talked about this. Having athletics now at Northeast kind of changes a lot of things, because, I know around here a lot of times you've got, especially on the girls' side, they're thinking about when they finish high school, am I going to be a teacher or I'm going to go into the healthcare? Because that's about your only 2 choices. Mm-hmm. But when, and this includes softball too and golf, But when you get to Northeast and you meet some people from different areas and you kind of broaden your horizon a little bit, your goals kind of change. Maybe you don't want to be a nurse. Maybe you don't want to be a teacher. You might want to go into, videoing, or you may, it kind of opens up the horizon for you, mainly because you're around different people than you grew up with.
And with the introduction of softball, cross country, and all those type of things, it really that's helped me tremendously. And I tell Joe all the time, I'm gonna ride his coattails because it's really opened us up. People, like I say, just getting the Northeast name out there so people are aware of us. And so I tell him that I told him right off the bat, man, I'm gonna because you got girls softball, I'm gonna ride your coattails, and he's been great. And they've pushed. I like to say they pushed all their chips in athletics with building the softball stadium and all that type of stuff. We have an indoor facility now for golf. We have a simulator. We have putting mats. They've given us a building to use, and we're going to keep adding to that, which has helped recruiting tremendously. Anything. We have a great Jimmy K he's a fantastic athletic director. The guy is one of the best recruiting closers. I bring every recruit in to talk to Jimmy because he can sell it. And we have academic, the other part of athletics at Northeast is we have academic services now with Coach Courtney, who's Joe's wife. She does our academic coordination. So we have study hall hours. We get to schedule classes early, books early, all those type of things. So there's advantages and help systems to help our athletes, which like I said, that's just part of running a real true athletic program is what they've done. And then conversely, I told my kids at the beginning of this year, when people do that, when they push money into it and they put resources into it, they expect results. And so that's what we're trying to do now.
Yeah, of course, higher ups are going to expect you to be successful on the golf course. So, they're going to want the kids to work a little harder, and you've got to put a little bit of pressure on them. Well, I know there's a lot of simulating, putting, and all that practice. Do you have kind of a workout regimen for your golfers?
What we do is we practice Monday through Thursday at, like I said, at Goose Pond, and we'll come in like at 12:30, 1 o'clock, and they have range balls, obviously a putting facility there. And some days we do what I call skill work, where we do putting drills and get on the drills there, and we play what we call 150 in, where we just go drop a ball at different yardages and play everything as a par three. And a lot of days we go play because the way golf is kind of like basketball. The way you get better at basketball and golf is you go play. It's right the opposite of football. The way you get better at football is you practice, because you can't play football 5 days a week. You never make it. So putting the ball in the hole is the name of the game. And so, like this, the last couple of weeks, we've had a match play. I've got a little trophy. So we're having a match play tournament to try to, simulate some competition. And that's been that's been fun here at the end of the year, because golf is a year round sport. We play a fall schedule and a spring schedule. And we spend a lot of hours with each other. So you try to find ways to keep it interesting and keep it fun.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. So in other words, in practice, you make it competitive to where it's fun for them instead of just monotonous.
Right. We try to do something where, have a little competition at the end of the day, and so on and so forth. And another thing that's really helped is we've hired an assistant coach, and a guy you guys know well, Coach Freddie Tidmore, longtime Scottsboro guy, South Pittsburgh. And I joke with the other coaches in the conference. I said, Northeast is the only place that hired 2 football coaches to coach golf. But he's come in, and that's been a huge help, because when I'm gone, he can practice the team that is there. So when I'm gone with the boys, he works with the girls, and when the girls are gone, he works with the boys. So that's been a big help.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Of course, you got to think about too, between your brother-in-law Chad Gorham and between Freddie and you. You better watch out, because there's no telling what might happen.
That's it. Yes. And I'm a much different cat on the golf course than I was on the football field. Yeah. So it's been, my blood pressures went down a little bit, especially, being an administrator and all that kind of stuff. So,
A lot better. Yeah.
Yeah. Golf is it's a very quiet, gentlemanly sport. So,
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun. You get a lot of personal. Like I said, I've got a kid this year. He's in his second year, and he's rode beside me, rode shotgun for 2 years, and so I know that kid as well as his parents probably do, because some of them trips to Gulf Shores and like I said, Pensacola, and we've gone as far south as Melbourne, Florida, which is down south of Orlando. You're talking about 8 hours in a van is a long time. So he's been my shotgun guy for a couple of years.
Coach, tell us his name. Tell us some of these players' names.
Yeah.
We have Brody Morris and Trinity Dobbins. Trinity's from 5. Brody's a Clay County kid, and they're both sophomores. We have Christian Cox. He's another Clay County guy that's come in. And then we have Gwendolyn Sims. She's Scottsboro. Taylor Bishop is from Hazel Green, and Angel Fulks is from Madison County. And on our boys' side, Scottsboro guys are Buckner Anderson, Grayson Widgeon. I'm going to forget somebody. Buckner, Grayson, Ethan Roberts, obviously. Reed Potter and Preston Worley are on our boys team. And so, those Scottsboro guys, they're part of that. They went to the state tournament in high school, and they missed it by one shot last year when those guys were seniors, because they were in Randolph's district. So, Randolph ended up, I think, winning it and beat them by one shot. They beat Randolph the year before. So it was a big thing. And I went back when I started. Howard Schnellenberger at Miami used to recruit the state of Miami. And so I kind of looked at that. I needed those Scottsboro kids. If they're a good golfer, I would like them to give Northeast a chance. And so that was big, getting those guys last year. And North Sun Mountain's obviously another program in the area that, back-to-back state champions. They've got really good golfers. And so we try to, have those pipelines in. And then we've expanded out, like I said, Fort Payne, Gurley, in the Huntsville area. I've got to get some kids out of Huntsville because they have Calhoun is right there next to them, and so they obviously have 4-year universities as well. So we try to get some kids from that area.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, I want to ask you, when you do hit the road, I mean, these young men and young women have to learn to kind of sort of like each other. They may not be friends outside of golf, but they've got to, because, they have to count on each other. I want to ask you this. I guess you're the one that drives the van. Who decides where you eat at? Oh, it's me.
It's me. And I tell them all the time, I may not be the world's greatest golf coach, but I hadn't missed on many restaurants. And you got to play to your strengths, and that's definitely one of my strengths. And Buckner told me about a month ago, he said, Coach, he said, just telling the truth, you're 100% so far this year. So, yeah, I picked the restaurants. I'm a lot more versed in eating than those guys are.
Well, do you ever, like, if you go to a tournament, if one of the guys maybe has the lowest score, would you give him the option to maybe picking dinner that night?
No,
he don't get that option.
Like I said, I've been in education a long time. You can't trust 18, 19-year-old kid.
Oh yeah.
And I tell you, when we go to the coast, we're down in Gulf Shores, Mobile, boys. We're eating seafood one night because Coach Haynes really likes seafood. So we're gonna get seafood one night. But the girls are the ones you have to kind of be careful about, because I gotta find somewhere that's got chicken fingers. Because if you don't have chicken fingers, the girls they'd starve, I guess. Some of them. Yeah. So, but yeah, we do. We do have we have a good deal, and the school's real good about making our per diems well. We got plenty of money, but generally how it works is the hotel breakfast is free, and so we eat the hotel breakfast, and I'm lucky because I really like hotel breakfast, and so my wife laughs at me all the time, and so the course will usually feed us lunch, so we can splurge on a really nice place in the afternoon. So that's part of the, to me, that's part of the gig of playing college golf is you get to do stuff like that. And you know, I've got a boy who had never had barbecue. Amazing as that sounds, he had never had barbecue. And so last year we went to a barbecue joint, and I said, you try it, and if you don't like it, you can get something else. And he got barbecue, and he's like, this is the best stuff ever. And I said, yeah. So, you know,
Please tell me he wasn't from the South.
he was from Clay County.
What?
Yeah, Brody he's Clay County guy. Yeah. He got a very peculiar palate. So he we try to help him out. We've got him try Mexican food. He just kind of he's one of those people that just eat a few things. So you know, it again, as a lifelong educator, you want kids to experience new things and learn more than just the game of golf. Coach Peak would always say, if all I teach you is football over 4 years, I've failed. And so I've always thought that was a good saying. So we try to do that. And I double as an English tutor sometimes. And I tell my kids, I said, you take college math, I can't help you, but I can help you in English class, because I taught English for a million years. So we get some of that too.
Well, you were talking about how you have kids in, you know, their swing and all that, those types of things. When you bring them in, do you sit them down individually to find out their personal goals, you know, what they may be looking for in the future academically? Do you sit down with them and have a conversation with them?
Yes. And junior college at Northeast, you know, we have a technical side and we have an academic side, I guess, like, you know, you get your 2-year degree and move on to a 4-year university and get a bachelor's. So we try to help them. You know, what do you want to do as far as going to the technical side? And I've had golfers that, you know, went through the electrical school here, through the building construction school, and I've got one that's fixing to graduate from Alabama. So that's the great thing about junior college, is you can do any of those things in a combination. It helps too. Like I said, being a high school administrator, I know what it takes I know what they need as a freshman and a sophomore, so that helps a lot. It doesn't matter as much now because, like I said, we have Courtney, so we have an academic advisor side that takes care of all that. But it is useful to have that education background to help them, you know, navigate what they want to do and how far they want to go. And to me, that's, you know, I used to say the coolest thing about being an administrator was graduation night when I got to pronounce them graduates. And so the cool thing about being a junior college golf coach is I give a kid that maybe not have the money to go on to school, they get 2 years. I'm going to get them 2 years of education. And then, you know, it's up to them to do what they want to do after that. But I think that's a neat part is to get them in school and give them a chance.
Well, you know, the technical part, you know, and that's a good thing. I was talking to Coach Hannah one day, and he was talking about several of his kids that's finished at Ider has went to Northeast and get a trade. He said, and they come back and they start out making more money than I do as a 30-year teacher. Mm-hmm. He said, so there's a lot of good things going on at Northeast.
Yeah. And I had, you know, Slade, he was in school at Jacksonville and got a job offer at Farmers Telephone. And so I've got it both ways. You know, my wife and I both have master's degrees and went into education, and he was kind of going on that path, but he got a call from Farmers. So he ended up going to work at Farmers. And like you said, I mean, he's doing way better than what I was at his age, which I wouldn't trade. You know, I wouldn't trade what I've done for anything. You know, it was a great run. But the welders, the electricians, all that kind of stuff, it's just as good as a 4-year degree now, in my opinion, especially in this area. You know, maybe if you lived in Birmingham or Atlanta or something, you could, you know, there's a little bit more opportunity, but the trades are going to do as well here as they would anywhere. And I try to tell kids when I went to college, obviously coming from a small school, didn't really know what choices were out there. I knew I was good at English. And so I just thought, well, I'll be an English teacher. And I just kind of fell into it. And I keep saying I follow into stuff all the time. I just kind of fell into it. And then about my second year of teaching, it come out that the number one degree that lawyers have is an English degree. And so I never considered that. So I always tell my kids, when you get to college, if you go to college, make sure that you look and see. You got to find out, like, I couldn't be an engineer because I can barely add and subtract. But there was a lot of different things with an English degree, and I went into journalism to start with, but I figured out that they make less money than teachers do, which back then was really bad, and so I didn't want to do that. So, and then both my sisters were teachers, so I decided I'll be a teacher too. So it worked out for me. But we want to give, again, having that education background. I tell kids, hey, you're good at this, you like doing this, so see what all that degree, what all you can do with that.
Yeah, well, you was talking about degrees. Well, I've got a degree in communications, and I sell potato chips because I make way much more money. But you was talking about the kids and whatnot. You get them at a pretty good vulnerable age where they're starting to mature as athletes, also as students. I guess you see this a lot on the course where you can kind of see young men and young women kind of get it, and it probably helps them confidence wise, helps them as golfers, but also helps them in the classroom.
Yeah. And we tell them when they get to campus, you're not in high school anymore. They're not going to hold your hand. The teacher's not going to call your parents and say, hey, they're missing this assignment or that assignment. I'm not going to call your parents and say, hey, Johnny's, not going to class or whatever. You're an adult. 18, 19 years old, even though it's changed a little bit over the years, you're an adult. It's up to you to get it done. And the one nice thing is obviously being from this area, we can help them a lot. And that's why, again, I keep saying the academic support, it's just, there's no way to put how valuable that is for students. To make them go to study hall for 4 hours a week has been a tremendous help as far as academically and career paths and all those type of things. And so it's a little different from, high school where like you said, they can't even drive. There's a lot more freedom. And I tell them that there's a lot more freedom in junior college. I expect you to, get here at this time and all that kind of stuff. But with that freedom, you got to be careful. And their freshman year is really, if you can, and I told every kid this, if you can make it through that freshman year, you're going to be fine. After that, there doesn't seem to be much of a problem. They understand, how to do things. We used to tell them when I coached football, if you can make it through a year, you'll play the rest of your time, because you realize you can do it. So you just got to kind of focus on making it through that year. And so that's what we tell them. And you see their game improve, you see their mentality improve. One great thing about playing college golf is you meet 90 different guys from all over the place. We play against foreign kids, from Italy, Spain, France, Sweden, all this type of thing. So you get the little kids from Jackson County and Clay County and all those type of things. When they're paired up in Stockholm, it's a different animal. I think that's a neat thing too.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a culture shock, but it's a good thing for them. It's kind of like, broaden your horizon, as we talked about. Well, tell me this, this is kind of basic. A lot of people don't understand this. If they wanted to come play golf at Northeast and wanted to be recruited, I know you can go online and, and kind of sort of put your name out there, get in contact with you. But you had talked about this, also get a video of yourself playing golf. So what's the best ways to get noticed if I'm a high school golfer?
We do pay attention to, and I told the high school coaches in this area something, and like I said, Coach Hannon and I talked the other day. He's got two really good underclassmen girls that I would really like to see come to Northeast. But they are, I get a lot of emails. That's really the first point of contact is people will send me emails. There's recruiting services out there that will do this for you. And so you sign up with one of them and send them videos. And then they're the ones that actually, they've got all our, all the conference coaches, all the coaches all over the Southeast, and they'll send those recruiting videos out. That's how I got the kid from Kansas. He come through a recruiting service. and playing in those junior golf tournaments is a pretty big deal, because those junior golf tournaments, they're run by people. There's not a lot of cheating, I guess is the best way to put it. That's why sectional tournaments and district tournaments and state tournaments, if you score a 74 in the state tournament, that's a true number. I mean, because you can't pencil whip it out there, and you can in those junior golf tournaments. So we know those scores are pretty legit, versus just, you know, a local match play or something like that. Like I said, Scottsboro hosts a big tournament, and you know, Madison County hosts a big one, and those are scores we kind of look at in those larger tournaments, at a you know, a Hampton Cove or a Goose Pond or something like that, and so we can see those. And of course, like you know, the county tournaments, those are big tournaments. You're gonna, you know, if it's just you and another guy out there, maybe I got a stroke here, a stroke there. If there's, you know, 50 people watching and there's 60 kids in the tournament, it's a lot harder to do. But yeah, email is how we do most of our business, word of mouth, you know, from a lot of different guys. It helps us too.
Coach, I think two of the girls you want from Ider was on our team or on our podcast just a couple of weeks ago.
I'm not real. I try to avoid the NJCAA rule book. So I know I can't say my name. And junior guy, I learned this because all my recruiting in the past has been, you know, NAIA, Division III. Obviously, I mean, we signed some kids at North Jackson and SEC, and Division I AA, Jacksonville State, places like that. So I knew their rules. And so when I got to junior college, I said, hey, when's the dead period? When's this? When's that? I cannot talk to them. And they were like, Coach, you can do whatever you want. It's not nearly as regulated as those guys are. So, you know, I had to kind of learn as I went, because somebody said something about coming and playing. I'm like, can I do that? Can they come? You know, can they come out as an underclassman? Oh yeah, Coach, it don't matter. So it's been fun to kind of learn. I did go. One of the first things I did is we actually signed Luke Smith at Plainview, and I told Robbie Coker, I said, I'm the best golf coach in the world because I signed the Mr. Basketball player. And he played 1 year of golf for me, and I got him he hated it so much he went to Montevallo to play basketball. So I don't know how that works, but probably got a kick out of that. But he signed, so I go to his signing day and take, you know, we're going to take pictures and all that. And so I happened to mention to Chad and my athletic director, I said, I'm going to see Luke sign. And they said, has he signed his letter of intent? And I said, well, I don't know. And they said, it's illegal for you to go and have your picture made if he hadn't signed his LOI. So I got his mom to sign his LOI really quickly so I could show up there. So that was a new one on me. So I've been careful to avoid those from here on out.
Yeah, that would be an easy one, very easy one to slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
I don't know that about that. Well, Coach, I know you talked about Ethan Roberts. He finished 8th in the Calhoun, Calhoun Community College tournament. How did y'all do in the tournament you had this past weekend? So is there some kind of district tournament, was it?
We played the conference tournament. We struggled. Monday was a really brutal day. It was about 40, and that's the thing about golf in the spring. It's just the weather is generally horrific, and that's why we play the majority of our tournaments in February. Like I said, we go to Melbourne, Florida. We play at Gulf Shores. We play in Mobile. Because you tend to get a little better weather down there. And then we move up here in March and April. We didn't do as well as I like. Cherokee Ridge is a challenging course. And like I said, I've got one returning guy. The rest of them are freshmen. And obviously it's an adjustment. High school golf, you play, you know, the tees are much closer. So you're playing a longer tee. The pins are much harder. In college golf, where the hole is on the green, they put him in really difficult spots. You know, the guy running Cherokee Ridge is an ex-PGA guy, and so he makes it tough. And so we struggled a little bit. We have a better team average this year than we've had since I've been the golf coach. The big issue is the conference has gotten much tougher this year. We would probably be middle of the pack. if we scored our scores this year, last year. But we're still much more competitive than we have been used to. We'd finish 30, 40 strokes out of first, and now we're much closer to that top 10 number. We were tied for 6th after the first day at Burning Tree a couple of weeks ago, and so we didn't play as well as we'd like to, but we got the district tournament coming up, and so in college it's kind of like high school. If you qualify at the district tournament, then you get to go to the national tournament. And so we've been kind of working towards that. So we've had 2. You play 3 rounds for boys. It's like I was telling you before we started. You play 36 holes the first day, and you walk 36 holes. That's 18 miles. It's a 10-hour day, and so it's really tough. And we've been able, and then you play 18 the next day. So you play 54 holes total. We've been really good for 2 of the 3 rounds, but 1 round has been our Achilles heel. So we're looking to put 3 rounds together and do that. But Ethan's playing well recently. Brody's played well. He was conference player of the week a few weeks ago. He finished 8th in Glen Lakes down in Foley. So we're getting better. All my kids have shot top 10 rounds. Every kid on my team has shot a top 10 round. They just haven't all shot it together yet. So we were talking about qualifying, in the district tournament, and they were talking about, wow, And I said, guys, you got to think about it like this. Everybody has shot a 75 or better round at some point this year. You just hadn't done it together. So if you all did it together, then we're in business. So I think they kind of realized, they were like, oh, well, yeah, we hadn't thought about it like that. So we just got to put, 3 good rounds of golf together.
Well, basically the difference between high school and college golf, and, and just, kind of the basics here, like say Ider plays Valley Head in golf, you just got, your 3 scorers and you total them up, and it's you win or lose, so to speak. In the college side, you play for individual awards or medals or what place, but then you're playing for place with the team part of it. Like you walk away 4th place or place. Mm-hmm. You don't play against any one team. You just play for position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have the largest conference in the nation, and so I think there's 14 teams in it. So you're playing. Our tournaments are generally anywhere from 70 to 90 players, and this year the top 10 is usually around par, which is really, really good. And so you've got to be around par, 3 or 4 over on a 54-hole score to crack that top 10. Like I said, the conference has gotten just eons better than it was last year and the year before. So those, when Ethan finished in the top 8, Brody finished he finished 8th. They put 3 good rounds together, and that's how they were able to score those numbers. And when I first started, one coach told me, he said, you can't win a tournament on the first day, but you can daggum sure lose it. And so that's kind of, if you go out and have a bad round on day one, it's hard to climb back in because those guys in the top 6 or 7, they're going to be fairly consistent. They're going to shoot what they shoot. It doesn't matter where you go, what the weather conditions are. They're going to play like they play. So, like I said, we've done all that. We're much closer than we used to be. And so, if we could just put 3 together, we'd be in business.
In being a golf coach, is there a lot of things you try to give the players is keep away from distractions, kind of sort of stay, because you're playing really basically yourself. You don't want to get frustrated. So, and I guess what you've had to learn, being a football coach, it's a high strung type thing. Now you've got to be a little bit more laid back and more encouraging.
Yeah. It's definitely, the mean guy doesn't come out very often in golf because in baseball, you never see them go out there and just chew the pitcher out because that's not what you do. Pitchers have got to have a lot of confidence. So yeah, that's one thing I do take from football. One huge difference in the sports that I used to coach in this is in football, that ball snaps every 30 seconds. In basketball, you're changing possessions every, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. In golf, you hit a shot and you got 5 minutes before you hit the next one. So you can sit there and think about how awful that shot was, where you don't have that option in the other sports. So that's something I've tried to explain to them is you've got to wipe that clean. And I say this all the time. Hey, just hit the next shot. Just hit the next shot. Just hit the next shot. And of course that, I read a thing where one of the PGA players, they were asking him, he'd come from the Korn Ferry, the minor league. And so they asked him, they said, what's the difference in the top 10, top 20 professional golfers in the world and everybody else? And he said, their ability to focus for 5 hours is better than anybody else's, because they can just stay in that zone for 5 hours and not go up, not go down, and that's what separates them, because that's really what golf is being able to lock in and swing the same swing every time and read the same putt and have the same stroke and all that kind of stuff. So I tell them, the difference in the top 5 or 10 golfers in our conference, in our district, from 170 yards in, they're going to hit the ball within 10 feet, 15 feet, and then they're going to make half of those putts. Everybody else is going to hit the ball within 20 feet, and they're not going to make any of them, so they're going to make a bunch of pars instead of birdies. And it's really kind of that, and they keep the ball in play. They don't hit it out of bounds off the tee and all that kind of stuff. And it sounds really simple. It's super difficult, but that's really when you want to separate those guys. That's kind of what it boils down to. Their second shot on a par 4, their third shot on a par 5 is going to be within 15 feet, and they're going to make half of them. So if they do get in trouble, they've got some birdies to erase it. And so, like I said, that's why we practice that. We'll drop those balls at 170 or 150 yards or 160, whatever, and practice those shots to try to get them close.
Yeah, of course, that's tough for a young person to concentrate that long. I mean, at their age, it's tough. There's a lot of distractions out there. A couple more questions for you. When you go into a tournament or whatnot, is there strategy involved?
We play a practice round. So we use that to study the course, and here's what we want to do. And Cherokee Ridge that we just played is a good example. It's not really a traditional course where you go up on the tee box and you pull the driver out, you just hit driver and you go up there and you hit a 6 or 7, 8 iron. There's a lot of short, you have to place the tee shot. And luckily though, we've all played it a million times because, like I said, a lot of my kids are local, so they know on number 1 you're going to hit 5 iron off the tee because you got to lay up on a par 4. So as far as strategy goes, that's pretty much it. It's really one of the great things about golf is the way you decide who's on your team, because you can carry 5. The way you decide who's on your team is you go out and you play, and whoever has the lowest scores are the 5 guys that get to go. So there's not really a lot of ambiguity about, I think Johnny should be starting because, they don't see him practice. It's pretty easy. Johnny shot 72 and Billy shot 82. Billy ain't going. So, that part's easy. So, strategy wise, we look at how the greens are receptive. Can you stop the ball with a wedge shot? Is it going to skip and run? Cherokee Ridge this last weekend, you couldn't stop the ball, so we had to play a lot of bump and run stuff. But those kids, they figure it out. They help each other and all that kind of stuff. And the difference in high school and college, in high school, the coach can't talk to them. And I can, so I can go up there and help them read putts, and we can discuss, if they're in the middle of the fairway, what do you think you're going to do? Obviously, they're a lot better golfers than I am, so I tend to stay out of their way. But it does help them, especially if a guy's kind of struggling. I say I'm going to go caddy for them for a few holes, and it really just helps them to talk through their shot.
Yeah, kind of.
I guess thinking this, I'm going to do this.
I guess if they're struggling a little bit, it's kind of sort of back away a little bit, get a little change of scenery. You walk up, back away, and think about it a little bit, and kind of sort of change course. I see what you're saying there.
Generally, when golfers play bad, they start playing faster, and so they speed everything up. And they quit thinking, because all they're thinking about is well, I hit it off the toe last time. So, like I said, helping them walk them through those shots really helps.
Yeah, and I guess sometimes, and then, and I know that I do this too, you'll tend to swing, because you're overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one more question for you, and then I'll turn it over to Howie. I want to talk about Dr. Campbell. Back when I went to Northeast, I started in the fall of 1985, and I went all the way up to around 1990. I, was in junior college then. I finally finished my degree, but I went to Northeast. The biggest thing Northeast was known for was playing cards in the student center. That was the big thing. I mean, when I go in, people would stand there and play all day. So that was the big thing everybody knew Northeast for. It's changed over the years. So you have to give Dr. Campbell a big pat on the back. He has taken the vision of bringing sports back, and they didn't do it just, hey, let's just try this. Brought in Coach Guthrie, brought in a good athletic director, people with tons of experience. I'm very impressed with Coach Guthrie. I mean, he knows his stuff, developing kids. You can tell off the field, on the field. Of course, his wife is a big to-do in that too, and you've mentioned her several times. But, talk about him and his vision. He has left his mark on Northeast College. And after you answer that is, do you think Northeast is going to expand sports? I asked this to Coach Guthrie. He said right now there's been so much money being spent, but it could happen. Do you see that happening in the future?
I haven't asked, and it's a huge change from high school where you're just really having to, you have to watch your money and fundraise and do all those type of things. I haven't asked for anything, and it took me a while to get used to it, but I haven't asked for anything. It's like the simulator. I said, guys, I really need a simulator, which is a pretty expensive piece of equipment. I really need a simulator because I'm getting out recruited because people are, they say, well, we got the simulator, so when it's bad weather, we can go in there and all that type of stuff. I haven't asked for anything that I haven't gotten. I think it's extremely impressive. And I talked when I first signed up, and they were talking about softball, and they hadn't even hired Joe at that time and all this stuff. And I made the comment. I said, just from my experience, if you dip your toe in the water and you don't go all in, it's going to be a failure. If you're going to succeed at sports, you're going to have to put money, and that's any level I've ever been at. You're going to have to put money, time, and effort into it. And obviously, Dr. Campbell and his staff, the whole school has really jumped in with both feet, and I think it's made a huge splash in the state. Honestly, we've got the best facilities, and we're able to use those as a golf team. We're going to be able to use those in the future for weight training and all those type of things in that indoor softball facility. And like I said, I've got an indoor facility now. They're building a soccer field. So, they're going to be successful. And that's the goal. And it's like I told my kids that they expect us to be successful now. So we're going to have to do a better job, recruiting and all those type of things. And so, which is great. I would rather have that expectation than not have it, because I obviously got very used to winning. And I really like it.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Campbell's he's done a fantastic job and hired, built one from scratch. Like I said, I keep referring back to the academic part of it, with facilities and all those type of things. I mean, it's been first class. And so I don't expect anything less than being successful in all our programs across country. Going forward, I don't know what the plan is. I'm very happy being a foot soldier after being the administrator for several years. Being a foot soldier is great with me. I just do what they tell me to do, and I go on. I can see, as things develop, adding certain things, because all it does is draw people in, draw kids in. I've been to a softball game. I'll be the first to tell you, baseball and softball is not my first love. But I went to it was great. I mean, I had a great time. It's a good atmosphere, very, professionally done, with music, and we've got mascots now and all those type of things. So, I can see them building those things. Obviously, softball is a big thing in this area. Soccer, soccer is a big thing in this area. Cross country is a big thing. And track in this area. You look at Scottsboro and their success, and Fort Payne and their success, and going into county schools at Pisgah. Some of those people with their running programs it's a big deal. So I think we started with things that in the local area we're kind of comfortable with, and going from there. If it gets bigger, you might have to start thinking about student housing. Some of those things that was one of the challenges we kind of had to overcome when we brought kids in. We don't have on-campus housing, so we tend to find them a place to live. And there's in the area around Northeast, there's not much. Like I said, you have to go to Scottsboro or Fort Payne to find apartments in places like that. So that's something that Joe's been really good, and Jimmy have been really good about. And we all try to help each other. Like I've got 2 golfers. I needed another roommate. And so there's a softball player that might need a roommate, or a cross country runner that needs a roommate. So we try to kind of work together to help that out. But that was one of the challenges first coming in. Even Scottsboro doesn't have a lot of apartments for rent, which is generally what, and trailer parks, they've got some trailers and stuff like that, but finding them housing. So if we got any bigger, I think that's one of the obstacles they might have to look at. So that might be down the road a ways.
Coach Guthrie had spoke on that was a challenge, but a lot of areas have stepped up and helped with that problem. Mm-hmm. and going forward, like he says, his greatest tool of coming in here in Northeast is bringing kids in and seeing how beautiful the area is. Mm-hmm. This is one of the blessed places. He talks about that. There's so many positives with being at Northeast College, and I think things are going well in the future. In one sport that is growing, and I'm wondering if it will maybe happen in the future, is flag football. It's gotten to be huge, especially up in Tennessee. It's really growing in the Chattanooga area. I think it's Snead State's fixing to field a team. And I think that's a sport that you may see in the future that may not be as much of a funding sport. But it's exciting to see Northeast because now, and I see it when we talk to the kids, and 2 of them we talk to, they are excited about Northeast having sports as much as y'all are, because it's something to take pride in. Hey, Northeast has got sports now. It's neat, and you'll kind of sort of every once in a while keep up with what's going on because it's a neat thing.
And for instance, whenever I first started, I had 3 polos, and I didn't even have a hat. So you see a Northeast apparel around Scottsboro, around Fort Payne, around Pisgah, Stevenson area. You're starting to see Northeast gear, softball, golf, these different type of things. You're starting to see those apparels get out there because, like I said, it's building a brand. And that was the biggest challenge I had because, like I said, we were here before softball came along, and I would just tell people, hey, I'm the golf coach at Northeast. And they're like, we had no idea Northeast had a golf program. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to, and I would hand business cards out at golf tournaments left and right, just to, hey, we're here, we exist, give us an opportunity. And it is good when you bring these people in. It is, and I didn't grow up here, and so I probably got a little bit more of an outsider as far as how pretty it is. Goose Pond is I consider it one of the prettiest courses. So I always make sure and take kids out when they come in from out of town. We go over on number 10 at Goose Pond. It looks out over the lake, and the marina's there, and it's the mountains are on each side, and it's awesome. And it's a great course. So I feel like if I can get them on campus and I can talk to them, and then I can let Jimmy talk to them, we're in business. I may be a lot of things. I do have a good time, and I tell them we're going to have fun, and we really enjoy ourselves on all our trips. The girls get cracked up because I love to go places and see things. And so every town we go to, I find out what the coolest thing in that town is, and we drive out at some point and check it out. So one girl, she told her mama, she said, I've learned more history from Coach Haynes than I have in any of my history classes, because everywhere we go, he tells us that what this town was built and where, this is what it's famous for and all that kind of stuff. So we tend to have a lot of fun. And like I said, as a teacher for a long time, that's the most enjoyable thing to me, is to give somebody a new experience. So that part of it is really rewarding.
Yeah, because you branch out and go see all those places, because some of these kids don't get to see things like that. And this reminds me of what John Kirby told me when they got to the state championship when he was coaching Pisgah. He said, Phil, and I was doing radio then, and I did the championship game, and I was talking to him before the game, and he said, Phil, he goes, about half my kids on this base, he said, they don't mean they're bad kids. He said, they just don't really go places. He said, about half my kids, this is the furthest they've been away from home. And, of course, it's not as bad as that now, but that's where carrying these kids to different areas. Some of them may have never been to the beach before.
Yeah, I've had a couple of that. Like I said, we've been to Melbourne to play. It's a private course in Melbourne. It's super nice, and and we play some Trent Jones courses, and most of the places we play are very nice, and so the kids, I'm like, you're getting a chance to play a course that you're not going to drive to Foley and play Glen Lakes just for fun, so you're getting to see something that you don't really get to see. And so that's a big part of it too. Is getting to do all those things. Like I said, we go to Mobile, I drive them through downtown and show them where Mardi Gras started, and we don't participate. But the girls team, we're famous for finding the best ice cream spot in town, and we found I can give you the best ice cream spots in Mobile and Gulf Shores and even in Jasper, Alabama. So we try to do something. We're going to have a good time no matter what. Like I said, going and staying in a hotel by themselves is a new experience for a lot of them. And so it's all part of growing up. And so we're gonna. I tell our recruits, I tell their families, hey, I'm gonna take care of them. My wife's gonna take care of them. She asks me all the time. My two boys from out of town, from Clay County, they're living up here by themselves, and she's like, are they eating? Do they have enough to eat? Are their clothes? Are they washing their clothes?
Yeah.
She's mama hen too. We're going to look out for them, but I tell them we're going to enjoy it, because I'm not going to do something and not have a good time. So we're going to have fun when we go on the road.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to turn you over to, and then, of course, the next time you go to Mobile, what you might want to do is buy some beads first, and then just toss them out to them and say, "This is as close as we're going to get."
Yeah. I had a
souvenir. We're going home.
Yeah. I had a girl last year, and she said, "Coach, why?" Because we just drive through when it's all, it's the middle of the week anyway. But she said, "Coach, why are there beads everywhere?" And I said, "Go home and ask your parents about that. I'm not going to tell you. Yeah. You figure that out from your parents, but it's part of Mardi Gras. So, hey, I'm not going to explain that one to you."
Coach, you've been on the you've been on the hot seat for about an hour now, so it's time to get in the recliner for a few minutes, and we'll let you go. We appreciate your time, appreciate you coming on and talking about your sport, and hopefully this will get out, and especially the girls will find out about it and be interested in joining you. So you said something earlier, I've known you for quite a while. You probably don't remember me, but I've known you for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I coached against you once, and then I saw you coach basketball and football and all this. So do you think that if you had coached golf all this time instead of those other sports, you could have a different hairstyle now?
Possibly. I got I got lucky. I started. My dad was bald, and so I kind of knew it was coming. But I got a little bald spot in the back of my head, and so I let my hair grow really long. It's the only time I'd ever let it grow, and it got kind of long. And this was my first year back at North Jackson after I'd been at Fort Payne, and I told my wife, I said, and my widow's peak was getting worse. I told her, I said, I'm just shave my head. I said, I'm just going to shave it. And so she was like, okay. And I could tell she was a little nervous. And so she went outside with the clippers and she shaved. She was just like the military. And we got it done. And she said, oh, thank God. And I said, what is it? She said, your head doesn't look weird, so it'll be okay. So yeah, I tell you, I wasn't great. That the coaching part wasn't what did it. The administration part what that finished me off. So that's where
Yeah.
all the grade came in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's one of those things that if you're a coach and you really love it and you're into it, you're not going to have a whole lot of hair left by the time you get done.
No,
And
but
I don't know nothing about the administration part, but
well, I can't draw. I can't build things. I can't work on cars. I don't have any kind of skills. But that's what I tell people. The Lord put you on earth to do something. And so I got lucky. I think I found what I was supposed to do pretty early on and just really enjoyed it. And so I used to tell people all the time, I can do two things. I can call football plays and I can teach English. And so I've been lucky to do those two things. And obviously the golf has been, it's been a really nice kind of post-retirement gig for me.
so this is a two-part question. This week is Masters Week. Do you have a favorite that you think is going to win? And will you and the team get together and watch one of the rounds of the Masters?
Scotty's got to, I mean, Scheffler's got to be the odds-on favorite. I think every tournament. The thing about Augusta is you can't tell. It can rise up and bite anybody. We're actually leaving Sunday. I have a practice round in Birmingham with the girls, so we're going to try to catch some of it as we go. But like I said, I give them Friday off, so we'll practice Thursday, and then they get Friday off, and then obviously I leave on Sunday. So I don't. That's one thing. I've watched the Super Bowl from my hotel room. I've watched the national championship in basketball from a hotel room. I get to see the football because it's before the season starts. But I've watched all the other ones either from a restaurant with a team or sitting in a hotel room somewhere in the state over the last few weeks. Because like I said, we do play all year long, so I do miss some of that stuff.
Got a few more things. Try to get to know Coach Haynes just a little bit. Ask you a few personal questions, and then we'll let you go. Sorry we've kept you so long, but
I love it. It's no big deal.
Well, you're one of the few that do, because most of the time they're like scratching their head, wondering what they've just done when they get off here. But
I've known you guys for a long time, so I wasn't intimidated when I came in. I knew y'all were good guys.
So you already said that you're known for eating food and all that stuff. And one thing that I ask a lot of them, pizza. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
I like pineapple on pizza. You can have a different opinion. I do like the Hawaiian style as a change up. Obviously, like I said, I'll try anything. I get that from my mother. We'd go somewhere and she would try something different, and I'll get something sometimes and I'll be like, this doesn't taste good. My wife's like, well, you always order the weirdest thing on the menu. So I'm probably not a real good guy to ask that question to, because I am adventurous when it comes to food.
So your young man that had never ate barbecue before, did he go back home and just go nuts ordering barbecue?
If we're on the road and I say we're going to eat this, and we get, so I tell them when we go on the road, if I can eat it in Scottsboro or Fort Payne, we're not going there. So we're not going to Cracker Barrel, because I can eat Cracker Barrel at Fort Payne anytime I want. I can eat Jefferson's in Scottsboro anytime I want. So we're going to go somewhere different. So when we go, and I can get good barbecue in Scottsboro and Fort Payne. So I tend to avoid barbecue, but there's a couple places. There's a place called Sonny's, and it's south of Atlanta, all the way down into Florida. And so when we go and play, we've played some tournaments in South Georgia and obviously in Florida. If there's a Sonny's, we usually whip into Sonny's. And in Melbourne, the hotel we stay at has a Sonny's right beside it. So we have had some barbecue on the road with him. He's not a big Mexican fan. I told him he's got to go with me because he's ordering the wrong thing, and I'll take care of him and get him the right thing. This kid, it's hilarious because we go on the road and we'll sit down and he'll get the menu and the waitress will come up and I'll go, you want this, 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 and this? And he'll go, yes, sir. It's because you spend 10 weeks with these guys, on the road. We're around each other all the time. So you get to know them after a couple of years.
You have my sister Lisa Frazier is the same way. She's like, if we can eat it at home, we're not going to eat it somewhere else.
No. If I can get in Scottsboro, now we do. We usually on the way home they get cracked up because on the way home we pull through a drive-through and we'll just get fast food. But even then, like if we're where there's a Foosackly's or something that's a little different than what they have around home, that's where I'm going to go. Freddie's is a big fan favorite. They got one in Huntsville now. But anyway, when my team come in this year, like I said, Brody was the only one that come back from last year. So after the first tournament, the kids said, they asked Brody, they said, because they would ask him questions like, what do we do here? What do we do there? And they asked him, they said, are we going to stop somewhere and get something to eat? And he said, yeah, we're going through a drive-through because Coach Haynes hadn't seen his wife in a few days. And I told him, I said, boys, that tournament's over. I point this van north and we get on the road and we don't stop because I got to get home and see the family. So he told him, he said, we'll get something, but it's going to be on the road.
So I got sidetracked on the food stuff. I'm a big guy myself. I enjoy talking about food. So, Coach Haynes, what type of music do you like to listen to?
I'm everything. I'm not a big country fan, but I listen to oldie, old rock and roll, and I like rap. I like it all. It's hard to coach football and not have an appreciation for all the different kinds of music. So I'll listen to anything. I'm not a big country guy. I never have been, even going back to when I was a kid, which is weird because my parents. My mother was. I was a late baby, so my mother was. You're talking about 1958 graduate. So she was raised on the original Hank Williams and things like that. But I'll listen to anything. So that helps with the kids. When they put the music on, I'm not, turn that off. So they think I'm funny because I can quote song lyrics just like they do, so that they get cracked up.
Yeah. I don't like country either. The country's out. I just don't like it.
I there's some I do, but it's just I'm not going to turn on a country music station and listen to country music.
Mm-mm.
So who chooses the traveling music when y'all go on the golf tournaments?
My guy Brody, like I said, he's rode shotgun for 2 years, and so he's got a little Bluetooth plug in, and he runs the aux cord in the van, and so he takes care of that for me. The girls, they tend to not speak from the time we leave until the time we get there because they put their AirPods in, and we rock down the road. But my second year girl Trinity, she's my shotgun rider this year. They kind of traded up between the senior members of the team, somebody to ride shotgun. And one thing we all the golf coaches tell each other, like I said, it's a really good group of guys on both sides, men and women. So we make sure when we get home, we text each other, hey, we made it, thanks for having the tournament, stuff like that. So they tell the kids, hey, one of y'all's got to stay up with coach, because like I said, you play a golf tournament, get done at 2:00, and you got a 6-hour drive home. Some of those nights get pretty late. So you get one ride. But yeah, girls, they're AirPods in. I've got one boy golfer. I told him, I said, you think it takes 5 minutes to get anywhere? Because we leave Northeast and you're asleep in 5 minutes and you wake up wherever we pull into town. So you don't have any idea how far any of these trips are. So they get cracked up about that.
Yeah, Trinity Dobbins, I've known her family for a long time.
Man, great people. Great people.
Absolutely. Coach, we appreciate your time. I could ask you a few more questions, but hey, we've kept you on here long enough. I do want 2 more things. One, give us your verbal commitment, your letter of intent, I guess you could say, to come back on here at some time.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been a while since I've done this. It's a lot better than when I get called after beat the week before. It's, feel that I went wrong, and I was like, oh, everything. So Bowen told me one time, he called me. We had led Plainview when I was the head coach at Pisgah. We had led Plainview almost the entire game and got beat in the last 2 minutes. And he called me for the next week's story, and he said, hey, Coach, does it make you feel better that you're the only coach in Pisgah in the last X amount of years to have a fourth quarter lead over Plainview? And I went, no, it does not help me one bit. That doesn't help at all. He said, that's the last time. Yeah, I'll be happy to come on. I'm a big loudmouth, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, we had Jason on last week. I don't know if you caught that one or not, but
I didn't see that one yet.
he was
I'm
on.
telling you now, I'm leaving Sunday, get back Tuesday. We practice
Right.
Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, I try to catch my breath. I did make a promise when I retired from being a principal. I said every Friday I'm going to do something fun because Fridays used to be ball game. Invariably something would happen, and my Fridays were always just a mess, and they were always long. I started at 6:30 in the morning, and even coaching football, it'd be midnight before I got home a lot of nights. So I said every Friday I'm going to do something fun. And so I've managed to kind of hang on to that. And then, of course, Saturday is the only time I see my wife during golf season for an extended period of time. So we try to hang out then.
And the last thing,
it's part of Friday night listening to scoreboard.
Oh, yeah. The NFHS has helped me a bunch. Because, like I said, I've been to a ball game on Friday night since I was 4 years old. And so when I retired, I was like, I'm just going to take a few Friday nights for myself. And so invariably, I turn the TV on and watch it on. I'll watch somebody on a NFHS and try to catch some games. And I've been to a few here and there, but especially when I started doing this golf thing, that's I get one true off day because on Saturday I'm usually packing and getting ready to go because a lot of times we leave early Sunday morning. So like I said, it tend to, and I tell everybody I didn't play a lot of golf whenever I was doing everything else because if I woke up on Saturday morning after coaching football or basketball or whatever and told my wife, hey, I'm going to be gone for the next 6 hours, I'm going to go play golf, I don't know how long it would have lasted. So it's been worth it just to hang out with her. So I try to, you got to do laundry sometime during the week. So that's usually it.
Absolutely. And the last thing, we always let everybody close out by giving shout outs to anybody that you want to give shout outs to.
I mean, just Goose Pond, Ashley Parrott runs that place down there. Will Parker's the superintendent, or the Greens guy, and they've been great. I mean, just absolutely great. Coach, you need to do this, whatever you need. They've been really supportive of our golf program. Dr. Campbell, Chad, Barbara Kilgore was my AD until Jimmy came on board and really helped a lot. Being supportive in the things we want to do. And like I said, they're always asking me, what can we do? What else can we do? What else do you need to be successful? So all the people in here, the faculty is really good about working with my kids because they do miss a lot of time. I mean, they're going every other week. And so Courtney's been fantastic in the academic side. All those people are great. And my wife has been really good about letting me. I mean, I walked in the door before and said, "Baby, I'm going to go to so and so next year and do this," and she'd go, "Okay." And so, I walked in one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to coach golf at Northeast," and she was like, "What?" I said, "I'm going to be a golf coach at Northeast." And so, she just rolls with the punches. So all those people have been great. Coach Tidmore. It's been a blessing having him come on board. Just to have somebody there, and he takes a tournament here and there. He'll go like I'm going 5 weeks in a row to the Gulf, and so I said, "Coach, can you take the next one and give me a weekend off?" And so that's been a big help too. He's been a huge help. So all those people, it takes a lot to have a successful anything in life, and so all those people have really helped.
Coach, we appreciate your time. You're welcome back on here anytime. I would say let us know if you had any fundraisers or not, but don't sound like you have any. So
we'll do so. We will. There will be something down the road. We're trying to kind of get that together as an athletic department here. It's also nice having an athletic department. Like I said, when I first started, it was me, and so now we've got other guys to being around other coaches, and so. That's been nice, but yeah, we'll have something coming up, but it on social media and do those type of things.
Just let us know. We'll post it on our website and everything. And so we appreciate your time. So For Phil Harris, I'm Howard Chaney. Our guest tonight was Doug Haynes, the North Alabama Community College golf coach of the men and ladies. I got it right that time, Coach. So thanks for joining us. Good night and God bless, everybody.
Thanks, guys.